thank you for coming in.
That's nice.
This is so exciting. We were joking, like, we've worked together for, I don't know how many years did we decide? 15?
Yeah, I
15
think so.
years. And this is literally the second time we've ever met.
Yeah.
But how many thousands of times that you've gone out to our clients and helped them out in staging their home.
Yeah.
Right. So your company is Simply Staged. So talk to us a little bit about your background and ultimately like what you do for our clients or your clients.
Sure. So I have an interior design degree from the U of M. Did that for a while, and then when my kids were little, I wanted to be home a little bit more, so I started working in a real estate office, eventually got my license, and was showing some houses, and I was kind of shocked at how people showed their houses. And this was way before, the Instagram worthiness of today's society, so people just didn't know as much about staging back then. And there were only a handful of stagers here in the Twin Cities. So my husband and I started a staging business, and it's just grown and grown since, and that was 20 years ago.
Gosh, it's crazy. It's been that long. Is there something, because people have to live in their homes, right? The purpose is to live. So when I go out there on a listing appointment and we have to start talking about making this a retail product, right? It's kind of hard to go switch from I raised my kids here, put my Christmas tree, and I've collected all this stuff, right? To the overwhelmingness that is getting it ready for sale.
Absolutely.
Right? And so I always talk you up significantly and say this, we're going to help, we're going to take, hold your hand, we're going to walk through everything. But tell us a little bit about when you're in the home process and how you make it easy for the client.
Yeah, I always I have the clients walk me around the house first before I give any advice. Like, I just want to see their house, I want to talk to them, and I want to learn about them, because selling a house is very emotional, and it comes with a lot of other things too, like, a spouse that passed away, or they're selling their parents' home, or they're too big for the house and they have a lot of kids, and it's just overwhelming to think about moving. So I try to be cognizant of what they're going through, and I do kind of shape my report for them based on that. Like, if I feel they're going to be overwhelmed by doing too much, I pare it down. But then there's other people that want to do every little thing. So I get very, very detailed for them. So I do try to be cognizant of what they're going through.
Sure. Well, we know that staged homes sell quicker and they sell for more money. And you do have the ability to bring staging furniture into the home, but that's not common. Usually we're just going to use what's there.
Absolutely.
Correct?
Yeah, I always try to use what they have, because a lot of times people they're looking at their stuff just in a very utilitarian way, and they don't always think about how it can be used differently. Like, I'll move a chair from here to there, or just hanging different artwork, adding some throw pillows to a worn out sofa. I mean, just little things can make a really big impact. So I don't go into a house and say, you need to get rid of everything and we need to put all new furniture in here, because there are lots of really good ways to make their house shine without doing that.
Yeah, and I would say you're very delicate. You do a good job, really good job, because we talked about it, is a lot of people are very terrified to have you come out to their house.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to be very judgy, and you're going to tell me all the bad things I did and how my house is never going to sell, and I don't know what they think this worst case scenario is, but they always leave and they say, what did they say?
Yeah, a lot of people, as I'm finishing up, they're like, this wasn't as bad as I thought. I thought you were going to be really critical of everything, and I really try not to be.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know, everyone's different, but I would say most people are a couple strong weekends away from a sellable house.
Absolutely.
And a more retail. So what are some of the top tips going into a home that you kind of focus on or that you recommend?
The number one goal is always to make it feel bigger and brighter. So if there's, really strong paint color, dark paint colors, or their windows are covered, that is the biggest thing. So lightening up paint colors, making sure window treatments are open or removed if they need to be. And then you can add a lot of light to spaces through small things like pillows on a dark sofa, or a light piece of art over a sofa, moving it from one room to the other where it's needed more. That would be the number one thing, I think. Along with that, I guess equal to that is decluttering. I mean, that's easy. Most people, think about staging, and that's what they think about, packing up all their personal stuff. Mm-hmm. And that's not necessarily the case. They might not have to pack up all of their personal stuff. Like an example, in bookshelves, like cool old books, keep all of those and like their grandpa's pair of reading glasses. Like they would think that's too personal to pack that away. But those are adorable on, a stack of books on an end table. So I don't tell them to get rid of everything. They're often surprised with what I tell them to keep.
Yeah, I could see that. Well, I shared this personal experience, right? Is that I had you out to my last house. It was about a year before we decided to sell, because I knew I wanted to replace the floors and I wanted to live in a house that was correctly staged, right, at being in the industry for a little bit. And you came in and it was like, this is totally doable. You gave a really nice report and we just copied it. What I found was one of the easiest things. You literally said, go to Home Depot. It's an aisle like 13. This is the SKU.
Yep.
And buy this one exactly.
I think that's the biggest thing that separates me from other stagers is most stagers are trained this way, so they do it to do a walk and talk. So they walk through the house with the client, and the client's expected to take notes and then go pick out everything and do stuff. And I felt like that I'm not doing them a good service by doing that, because it's like anything. You listen and you think you're going to remember everything, but then when you get into it, you're like, oh, I didn't write that down, but what did she say about this or that? So I developed my own reports that are pretty easy to do because I can do them while I'm in the house and finish them and email them while I'm still in the house. But you're right, I include a picture of the chandelier from Home Depot that they can click on the photo. It goes to the Home Depot website. They add it to their cart. It shows up at their house a day later. Like, I want it to be easy for them because it's already an overwhelming process.
I just could not have made it any easier unless you went and bought it for me, right? But now with Amazon and everything else, you can find it in 2 seconds and you can have it delivered the next day.
Yep.
Right? And you also gave a list of, now I'm a handy person, so luckily, but some people aren't.
Yep.
Right? And the thought of changing a chandelier is overwhelming, daunting, and just scares them to death.
Yep.
Right? But you kind of have a list of people that you've worked with in the past, right? That you give to everybody?
I do, absolutely. It's at the bottom, a list of contractors. And I also include something like recaulking their shower. It's a pretty easy task for somebody that's done it before, but for people that haven't, it can be really overwhelming. I include a YouTube video about how to recaulk their shower. So they don't necessarily have to if they don't want to.
YouTube
but
University.
It's the option.
Right. Okay, so then someone does all the things. Do you usually say, what is it, like you prioritize or something? Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So how does that work?
In each room, I have a list of items to remove because we all have things that we need to remove. And then below that are high, medium, and low priority items. And I put the items in order of what's most important. So high priority, they're things that I usually suggest no matter the market. High inventory, low inventory, high priority items are good to do regardless. They're going to get you more money, quicker sales time, no matter the market. Medium and low are a little more up to the seller. So if inventory is super low, realtor thinks it's going to sell within a week or two, they can probably get away without doing the medium and low priority things. But if it's somebody they just want to get top dollar, they want to make sure they're doing everything they possibly can, it's there for them so they know everything they can do.
I would say that probably 20% of people do everything we recommend, right? Maybe minus one or two things.
Yeah.
I would say most people are going to be somewhere in that 50 to 60% of what you recommend.
Yeah.
And at some point they're like, enough is enough. But I will say that number of calls that I've gotten afterwards, they say, Matt, maybe I don't want to move anymore. we kind of joke.
Yeah.
It's like, why have I not lived this way for the last 8, 10, 12 years?
Yeah.
Right? I wish she would have come out to my house when I bought it. Do you ever do that, by the way? Do you ever go to a house that isn't selling and help them do these things?
Oh, after it's already been on the market?
Or someone just says, hey, I want to...
not selling.
Yeah, not selling. I want an interior desire. Or I just bought a home and I want to know how to arrange my stuff.
Yeah. So a lot of people that have gotten my report for staging, they're like, can you just come back and do this at my next house?
Yeah.
And I do. I do the same report, a little bit different, because I'm looking at how they're living there versus how they're selling. But
a little practical approach versus a retail needing to sell approach.
Yeah.
Okay. So what does declutter mean to you from a staging interior designer standpoint? Because that is a word that's thrown around a lot by real estate agents and by sellers and by buyers.
Yeah.
What does it mean to you?
For me, it's personal items first. So personal photos, like in bookshelves, it's things that don't read clean. So like paperwork, binders, I don't know, books that don't have spines, like things that just take up visual space, but it's too little and too much. So it's not a clean view of the room. So things like that. In closets and storage spaces, that kind of thing, those are where a lot of clutter ends up. So I usually tell people that shelves and rods should only be about 80% full.
Okay.
So the 20% looks like they have lots of space to expand. So especially in a small house, it feels a little bit bigger. And then having as much off the floor as they can. So in boxes, on shelves, it shows square footage. If the floors are full and things are wall to wall, they can't really see the space. So
sure. And then if you're in a perfect world, would you say it's better for them to get like a pod? Or what do you say to do with your stuff? Because I get that question. Like, Matt, what do I do with my stuff?
For sure. And it really depends on their budget and inventory and things like that. A pod is great. I mean, it's the most expensive, but then it just shows up at their next house and they unload it, which is wonderful. Offsite storage is great. But I'm not opposed to people putting stuff in the third stall of their garage. Buyers know they're moving. So if there are, Home Depot or Lowe's boxes all lined up on the wall, neatly stacked, it's absolutely fine.
I agree, but getting it out of the house. And if your electrical box is in the third stall, don't
cover it up. Yeah.
That has happened more than a few times.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So how many consultations or staging appointments do you do, like in a given year?
Yeah, usually between 300 and 400.
So you would say you're pretty up to date with the trends and what's happening then.
I try to be.
I would say with that amount. That amount. And how much of it is people that are selling versus people like repeat? I just want you to come out into your design stuff type.
Oh, I would say probably 95% staging. I mean, that's really our business model. And then, 5% are calling me back to do a little design work. To go do a second
time or something like that.
Yeah.
I think, okay, I like it. So what is important from your vantage point, and why is it important for staging on a home versus, the agent that comes out there and tells them to do a couple of things, and maybe they are up to date with interior design, or maybe that agent knows, a couple things.
Yeah.
Right. Why would you say your services are better or equal to?
I think a lot of realtors have a lot of good taste, and we're in this market of Instagram worthy, and people do really have a better idea of what looks nice than they used to when I started staging. But there's still some things that a stager understands that maybe a realtor doesn't. They do a lot of it themselves, so they're moving furniture around and seeing how things look, and they know like accessorizing in groups of 3 and how different textures and heights work together, and there's just something about practicing it every day.
Yes.
That makes us, I think, a little bit better at understanding how to do that and telling the client how to do that, like communicating that to them. That's why I like my report, is because I feel like that's not something you're going to get from just everybody.
Yeah. Well, there's a reason that we offer to literally every single seller that we meet with, when they hire us. Right? You're not free, right? You're not like, hey, I just love doing this pro bono. Right? We pay you for every single person that you go out to, but there's a reason for it, right? Yeah. It is because, yes, do we have a good eye in general? Sure. Can we tell them to declutter? But again, that's a subjective word. But I think having somebody that's not in that world come into their house and give an absolutely subjective look at it, I think is really important.
Yeah, and I think sometimes if there's going to be some kickback from the client, or there's some more touchy things that I might have to say, I get to be the bad guy, and the realtor doesn't have to.
Yeah, fair enough.
Which is really nice.
Yeah, I don't have to be the bad guy. Like Sharon's gonna be the bad guy.
Yeah, I don't mind. I'll take it on.
Yeah, right. No, I don't say it that way. But we have interior designers that sell homes,
Right. Absolutely.
And I still recommend it to them. Right? Or we have people that are up to date with trends on Instagram. Yeah. I still tell them it's a good idea. Yeah. And I've never had a single person say, Matt, that was dumb. I shouldn't have done that. Never.
That's great.
In how many years of 15, 16, 17 years of doing this, never had a seller say that.
And it could be too, I mean, interior designers are really focused on how you're living in a space, and stagers are focused on, okay, the photographer is most likely going to stand here. How does that impact where I put the furniture? So you really have to think about the marketing of the house, not just the staging. It's really a full picture.
That makes a ton of sense when you say that. So you're going to have more foresight than an agent, than a homeowner, even if they have a background in interior design and functionality, you're going to have that. That makes sense. So I will say, I'm going to give one example. And I remember it. I don't remember the client's name, but you went out there and did a staging consultation. And they did say, Matt, like, I don't think she was right on this. I was like, just do exactly what she said. You're not going to live in the house anymore. They push back again. Matt, I just don't think this makes any sense. I was like, I understand, but you're not going to live in the house anymore. Just do exactly what she said to do. Okay, reluctantly. And they called me, not even 15 minutes later, like, she was right.
Oh, I love it.
100%. She's like, I could have story after story about that.
Yeah.
Like, she was 100% right.
I love those kind of stories.
Where can somebody find your services if they wanted to find you, of whether they're looking to sell or whether they want to just have you out to tell them how to arrange their house?
Yeah, sure. Simplystaged.net.
Simplystaged.net. And I could say there is archive after picture after picture of before and after. And it's very clear that you know what you're doing.
Yeah. Everybody loves a good before and after, especially in their own house.
That's true. We should ask, can we copy those things for our social media? Can we just copy it? No, but thank you for coming. Simplystaged.net. Sharon, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. It's a pleasure doing business with your team.